What choices do I have living in borderlands? What choices do I have living in borderlands? Look at me in the eyes, and I know you'll be so surprised to find someone like me, who underneath it all is free. This is part of a song I wrote called Borderlands. That happens to be one of a favorite among a group of incarcerated women I work with every Friday in San Francisco County Jail, where we have 1-hour sessions that we've named the Music and Freedom Sessions. And it started back in May, where I came in just with the idea of sharing songs that I felt inspired, some kind of reflection on what internal and external freedom feels like. And I've been humbly learned a lesson that just the simplicity of sharing one's voice and sharing song could be a time where time pauses, and it's possible, even for the most isolated people, to imagine beyond the confines of the present moment, a time to really reflect on one's own worth and humanity, especially when you're treated as something that's different in the day in and day out. This idea of confinement, whether it's personally lived through the shame that we carry, or institutionally, with racial ideas of segregation, which in the United States, this ideology, where one is born wrong just for the color of their skin, this ideology kills a black person, an unarmed black person, every 28 hours in the United States. And with military occupation, the confinement of indigenous people on their own land, which makes a place like Gaza right now the largest open-air prison in the world, experiencing a level of inhumanity and injustice that makes this ground shake. This idea of confinement, of destruction, of isolation, I feel is directly in opposition to the emancipatory and expansive quality of the voice. Whether it's with poetry, writing, speaking, or music, the voice names what it is. And for me, as an artist, song and singing is the expression I'm most drawn to, and I'm here with you today just to share with you a little bit about my journey of how I reclaimed my voice by traveling through my trauma, my fear, and finding some wisdom along the way of this very windy road of being an artist. So, where to begin? This story, born of 1,000 stories, born of fragments of breath with no exhale, waiting to be released into this air here and now. Stories flowing like a river as old as the Ganges, which is right now one of the most polluted rivers in the world. Polluted because we don't listen to it and its old wisdom. This body, born of 1,000 stories, hidden in my movement, locked in my inhale, afraid to let go and release. Reclaiming my voice is something that I have to do every day, a battle that I have to choose to win. 5 years ago, when I was last in Beirut, I decided to finally dedicate my life to music, my innermost passion, singing. It was a huge moment for me, facing the fears that were making me unable to pursue my passion up until that point. You see, I had so much locked up in me that grabbed a hold of me. This belief that I was either too brown or not brown enough, too American or not American enough, too Christian or not Christian enough, too woman or not woman enough, too Arab or not Arab enough. These beliefs were blinding until I reconnected with my roots with a determination and stared my demons in the eyes, straight into my belly, my womb, where I seemed to carry it all. And not just from this lifetime. My ancestors from Lebanon, who eventually moved to Sierra Leone in West Africa. And Sierra Leone is where both my parents were born there, who ended up coming back to Lebanon, growing up here, And in 1975, Mama and Baba almost didn't make it past the attacks, the hatred, the blood on everyone's hands in this war-torn, blue-shining Mediterranean nation that has never been a nation united because of a colonial divide and conquer that etches borders into our skin. My brother and I were born in California, and honestly, I wouldn't be where I am today, or even close to who I am today, if it wasn't for the support of my mom and my dad. They are my biggest fans. So, that summer, 5 years ago, in Beirut, I had just spent 2.5 years finishing my master's studying post-colonial anthropology, where I was immersed in the work of writers such as Edward Said, Frantz Fanon, Gloria Anzaldúa, Audre Lorde, Angela Davis. So, being immersed in understanding the idea of how oppression functions on a structural level, right down to the everyday intimate parts of life, woke up a deep, deep burning in me. And I actually started singing after a 10-year hiatus. This wall that was built up in the back of my throat started crumbling, and I actually started remembering things that I had forgotten. You see, healing has an intimate relationship with memory. And as Mahmoud Darwish says, we who are capable of remembrance are capable of liberation. And that summer, I was finally ready to remember things that were locked up in my throat. This surfaced, it spilled over, and my voice finally cried out. Why do so many of us women of color carry this shame? Why do we carry this shame for generations? How are we supposed to heal if it remains taboo? You see, I keep meeting sister after sister and kin after kin who shares with me their experience of sexual violence and abuse. Every moment that we choose to believe in our own objectification is another moment where our breath is held, our voice is caged in out of fear of becoming too big, bold, huge, great, wonderful. I come before you feeling so called to just break my heart open in front of you because no one's pain is separate from another. And I carry with me a whole choir of those that have come before me, giving me courage to sing this out. And I know it sounds like I'm speaking, but believe me, I am singing through the prison walls of history and through the shackles of memory, finding its opening toward freedom. You see, we carry the impossibility of our torn identities in us. Battling ourselves, torn between privilege, oppression, and pain. Categorized in that so-called free world by the color of our skin, our white or blue collars, what passports we carry, what God we bow down to, and the genitals between our legs. And in that so-called land of the free, and I quote June Jordan, I can't do what I want with my own body because I'm the wrong age, the wrong sex, the wrong skin. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, we begin to believe in this divide and conquer internally. We start learning shame, learning that keeping ourselves down, hidden, not shining too brightly is somehow normal. Built in the fabric of empire, we view ourselves as commodities, not subjects of our own lives. So we become a problem to the order of things when we choose to rise up and challenge this oppressive beliefs. You see, I am sick of feeling like I am the problem for being a brown woman, that it was my fault I was penetrated without consent that day. I never screamed when my innocence was taken from me, and I remember that loudly. And what continues to haunt me today more than anything is that I was silent. I didn't say one word. Guilt and shame used to plague me, used to make me think that I did something wrong. We learn to build shells of protection around our core so that we can carry on. And over years and lifetime of that protection, we start actually believing that the body and spirit are separate And over time, we start internalizing that, and we actually forget that they were one. So much that this is what's taught as natural in public schools, in prison systems, in some religious institutions. But once we get that first felt glimpse, that first breath, that felt reality, that the body and spirit are actually one, and we have that power to produce our own knowledge and to name our own experience, once we have that first felt breath, that guilt and shame that have taken residency inside ourselves no longer have the same authority. At that point, healing is no longer impossible. It can be thought of, believed, conceived of. This is a warrior's call to descend into what we are afraid of so that we can rise. Slowly, the warmth of love, courage, compassion thaws our dried wounds. It melts them. They speak, and their voice is earth-shattering. To me, that is the music that heals. That vibration between dueling truths, rights and wrongs, my pain and yours. Sing songs that are taboo, the ones that hide behind our pride, the ones that turn our shame into light, the ones that make you laugh or cry. Open to that sound where life is redefined and unrefined as love, as accepting. Our wounds are just prophets in disguise, waiting for us to take the keys to our freedom. For me, that's a song that is a freedom song. Can we sing that kind of song? That is the music that heals. I believe part of art is exhaled from the wounds of the soul, resonating with others who have shared that same wounding, waiting for something to name which has yet been unnamed. It weaves meaning between the present and the past, fear and freedom, forgetting and understanding. The artist is hollowed into a vessel that shifts culture towards new thoughts, new beliefs, new ideas. It's a deep resonance within a collective, a reflection of love and justice. And if there's anything that you walk away with today, please, please remember the power of your voice and the power of the voice when it is united in a choir of our collective memory that we can choose to redefine ourselves today. We do not need to believe that history that's written in the history books for us. Because as we know, a lot of times it only serves a small few. And we have the power to burst through those history books and rewrite the words according to the songs that we want to sing. So I encourage you, listen to those messages and sounds in the trees. Listen to the fear inside of you. Listen to your anxiety. Listen to your grief, your hope, your joy, your rage. It is speaking to you, singing songs that need your voice. And as the late but ever-present and great Maya Angelou wrote so poignantly, the caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare screams. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, and he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful truth of things unknown yet longed for still. His tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. This caged bird still sang. Imagine its voice when it is free. What choices do I have living in borderlands? What choices do I have living in borderlands? Look at me in the eyes, and I know you'll be so surprised to find someone like me who underneath it all